The sun bled across the Arizona sky as rancher Colt McAllister rode along the cracked desert trail, scanning the horizon the way a man does when he's used to trouble, coming from anywhere, anytime. He wasn't a hero, never claimed to be one. But fate didn't ask for permission that day. A thin, desperate cry pierced the wind, sharp enough to stop any man with blood in his veins, and Colt pulled his horse to a halt. Down in a narrow ravine, half buried in dust and fear, a small Apache girl clung to a rock while a rattlesnake coiled only a few feet away, ready to strike. Colt didn't hesitate. He slid down the ridge, boots kicking gravel, one steady hand reaching for his revolver while the other shielded the girl. One shot cracked through the canyon, echoing like thunder. The snake dropped still. The girl threw herself into Colt's arms, trembling, tears mixing with dust as she whispered, "Mama, help Mama." Colt knew the Apache and settlers walked a thin line between peace and war, but the child was terrified, and that alone was enough to move him. He followed her small footsteps, deeper into the valley until he found a scene that twisted his chest, a young Apache woman, beaten, injured, and barely standing. Her clothes torn, her braid dusty, her face streaked with war paint and dried tears. She turned violently when Colt approached, like a lioness ready to die fighting. But when she saw her daughter safe in his arms, something inside her shattered and softened all at once. Her legs gave out and she knelt before him, not out of fear, but out of desperation. Why would a rancher save my blood?" she asked, voice hoarse yet strong. Colt shrugged the way men do when they don't think kindness deserves praise. "She's just a kid," he said. "Kids got no part in grown folks' war." The woman lifted her chin, pride flickering in her dark eyes. "My name is Naya. I am daughter of Chief Wakota. You saved my child. You saved my whole world." She tried to stand, but her body trembled so violently he had to catch her. She was strong, carved by survival and storms, but exhaustion weighed on her like chains. Colt carried her to his horse, placing her gently as her daughter clung to her side. They rode toward his ranch, a place far from perfect but safer than the open desert. When they arrived, his ranch hands gave wary looks, but Colt's voice cut through the tension like a blade. "They're under my protection." That night, Naya sat by the fire watching Colt patch her wounds. Her gaze never wavered, sharp, assessing, almost studying the man who'd stepped into her life like a storm she didn't see coming. When he finished, she spoke in a tone that carried the full weight of Apache honor, something unbreakable and ancient. "Among my people," she said, "a life saved must be repaid in the deepest way. You saved my daughter. You saved me." She rose slowly, stepping closer, her shadow dancing with the flames. "So this body is yours." Colt froze, shocked, caught between instinct and morality, shaking his head. "Naya, I didn't save you for payment." But she held her ground, fierce and unflinching. "This is not payment. This is honor." Her daughter looked between them, eyes wide, sensing a moment bigger than she could understand. Colt stepped back, breath heavy, heart unsure of what to do with the intensity of her words. Before he could answer, a distant howl rose from the night. Trouble wasn't done with them yet, and fate, wild, stubborn fate, had only begun to tangle their paths together. The next morning, the ranch woke to the smell of gunpowder, long before the smell of breakfast. Naya stood outside the barn, her bare feet planted in the dirt, her face streaked with fresh war paint, her braids hanging like black whips of determination. "They're coming," she whispered as Colt stepped beside her. "Men who chased my daughter, men who tried to break me." Her voice didn't shake, though her body still bore the marks of suffering. Colt wasn't surprised. He sensed trouble long before dawn. "Then they picked the wrong ranch," he muttered. Naya looked at him, really looked at him, like she'd finally found a place where her broken pieces didn't need hiding. The riders appeared in a cloud of dust, 5 men with cruel eyes, rifles and hearts made of greed. They wanted Naya back. They wanted to sell her, to break her spirit, to turn her into something she would rather die than become. Colt stepped forward first, hand resting on his holster. "Turn around," he called out, voice cold as steel. "This land isn't yours," the leader spat. "That Apache woman is worth money." "Move aside, rancher." Naya stepped forward, her daughter clutching her skirt. "I am not your property," she growled. But the men didn't listen. They never did. Guns lifted. The desert held its breath. And then chaos broke loose. Colt drew first, his shot catching one man's shoulder and spinning him to the ground. Naya moved with the deadly grace of a warrior born under a burning sun. She grabbed a fallen rifle, firing with precise fury. The ranch hands joined in, smoke filling the air. When the dust settled, 3 men were on the ground. 1 fled bleeding, and the leader was pinned beneath Colt's boot. "You ever come near this woman or her child again?" Colt hissed. "I'll bury you where you fall." The man ran, terrified beyond pride. When silence returned, Naya looked at Colt like he'd just rewritten the laws of the world. "Why?" she asked again, softer this time, almost afraid of the answer. Colt wiped the dust from his jaw, eyes lingering on her daughter, safe behind her mother's legs. "Because no one gets to break what's meant to stand tall," he said. Naya stood trembling, not from fear, but from something fiercer, something that had burned inside her long before Colt entered her story. She stepped toward him, placing her hand on his chest. "Among my people," she whispered. "When a man protects a woman even when he gains nothing, he becomes part of her spirit, part of her path." Her voice thickened. "You saved my daughter. You saved me. And you fought for me when no one else would." She looked up at him with eyes dark as midnight rivers. "So this body is yours, not by tradition, but by choice." Colt swallowed hard, the weight of her words sinking deep. He lifted her chin gently. "Naya, I don't want to own you." She smiled, a small, fragile, beautiful smile. "Then walk beside me," she said. "As equal, as protector, as man who sees me not as Apache, but as woman." Her daughter hugged Colt's leg, sealing a bond none of them had expected. As the sun lowered, painting the desert gold, Naya stood beside Colt, her hand slipping into his, their shadows merging like 2 stories becoming one. The ranch, once just a place of work and dust, felt alive, like a home built not from timber but from fate itself. And from that day on, whenever the wind carried whispers through the valley, it carried the tale of the rancher who saved a child, the warrior woman who gave her heart in return, and the promise written between them, protected by bullets, courage and a love strong enough to tame the Wild West itself.